Hey, howdy, hi. I am going to attempt this. I don't know how good the sound is. I don't know if you can hear me very well over the sound of the generator, but that's what we're working with. So I believe that I haven't used this deck since I calibrated them. So this should be, I'm going to have to shuffle them pretty well and get a good energy mix into them. I think I like having this much space, but I think that the camera should be somehow, I don't really have anything I can put it on. To raise it up, I can put it on these. Really need it like this. That'll be fine. Maybe that's a little bit better? Okay, so I'm gonna have to shuffle these pretty well, which these ones are still, these are just thick, stiff cards, so the deck doesn't necessarily shuffle easily without breaking it down. I hope that everyone is doing great this year. I am doing this reading in 2025, but really I suppose you could be watching this at any point in time, so long as it resonates. I have a feeling, the reason that I tend to do things the way I do too is because I have a feeling that like the sense of timelessness is going to not exist much longer. The way that things are going, I just feel like these things will, I can't really say that. You know, I like to think that these things apply to a specific space and time, but who's to say? You know, I'm sure there's different ways that they can be taken in the future, and hopefully if you are finding these videos in the future, you are benefiting from them. I'm gonna have to go through and actually count how many readings I've done at some point. I imagine that I likely have done like, I don't know if I've done close to 100, but I would like to have like 100th episode, 100th tarot reading. Maybe I'll do some type of giveaway. I think I should do live readings too, which I've brought up multiple times before, but I've yet to do. It seems like those are, you get just shuffled around in the algorithm differently, so I don't know. Maybe I'll do that at some point. I'm still trying to figure out a set schedule in order to be able to do these things. It just seems very random, so we're working with what we got. I'm gonna shuffle all of them like this. They're all ready. And then I'm gonna do this, all right. I have no idea what we're actually going to be talking about. Let's see. In a minute, I've been not on point as much as I would like to be in general. But that's what a change of pace and a change of place can do to you. So I'm just taking my time with it. Okay. The way that these came out is like this. Let me This is what I'm getting initially. Okay. This is what it seems. This is what is actually going on. And I'm hearing that this is who's involved. Who is involved, like being affected, being influenced, or involved by this perspective or person, and who's affecting, influencing this person, the perspective. This is the reality, but it's somehow hidden. And hold on, can I get... Okay, I don't know if you saw that. I picked up this and these two like kind of slid off, and like I didn't pick these two up. I was just going to shuffle for 2 cards because I want them on either side of this, but before I could even get that out, 2 cards came out. What I was going to ask for was for 2 cards to really help identify and clarify who the people are in this situation. Those just came out. Okay, that's the way the things came out. Okay, so we're talking about the Queen of Cups in reverse. And this card, I know this deck is hard to see in the camera because it doesn't really focus well. The Queen of Cups in reverse is like a toxic mother energy, a toxic feminine energy, mostly like a mother energy that's not... It can either be talking about mommy issues, a person with mommy issues. It can be a mom that has issues with her own kids. It can be just talking about a mother in particular that happens to like be problematic. There's this feeling of something being precious, being coddled, being sheltered, being protected. It's not innately codependent in a negative way, but it is something that's codependent. Maybe it's supposed to be that way. Maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe it's only for a time that it's that way. Maybe it's an underdeveloped idea, skill, pattern, personality trait. But it's being kind of coddled and nurtured and supported by and like sheltered in that way by this toxic feminine energy or person. A certain vulnerability, a certain like quality of oneself that one considers to be a weakness, a certain... It could be just like a codependent relationship, like with someone else, or maybe even like this is what someone is perceiving someone to have. But it's referring specifically to a toxic feminine in that way. But like I said at the beginning, so this is how it's being portrayed, is it's a toxic feminine. However, what's really going on, which may or may not be validating, is the Ace of Coins, and it came out on its side, so I left it on its side and just put it up higher, because these two came out upright or well, not necessarily upright, but not on their sides. So this one is transitionary, and it's transitionary in the opposite direction than it shows up on the camera, but the Ace of Coins, it's transitionary from this side is the money side, this side is the, I was gonna say the brawn, but it's beyond that. It's something that's more tangible. It's the face of the thing. It's like a setup. It's like there's this. So this is talking about this toxic feminine specifically, and this is going to get into who they're being supported by or what they're being supported by, whether it be an energy entity, just like a specific type of quality or something like that, however that comes out. But what we're really seeing highlighted here right now is this very specific person, idea, or like scheme, theme, habit, projection, personality trait or type. There is this idea of an identity, a very specific identity, almost being portrayed as helpless, when really it's toxic. It's being cradled by something very toxic. Maybe it is helpless, but it's being contained by something and controlled by something toxic, or it's portraying itself to be innocent or vulnerable. But that it's like truly actually like parasitic. Or it's I'm getting the idea, though, that it itself is the parasitic thing. This certain vulnerability, or whatever could be perceived as weakness, like it is, at least that's how it's being portrayed. It's being portrayed as it being some sort of weakness. This person is looking at this baby and with a kind of concern, or this kind of like sort of empathy towards it, but it's almost like this idea that like it's they're realizing that this baby like is helpless, it's not necessarily it's weird because it's giving me like a manipulation vibe. So it's not giving me the idea of like this baby being innocent. It's giving me the idea of this baby like, because it's a baby, because it can't care for itself, because it's can be perceived as weak, like it's not, it's toxic. It's something that's toxic in that. But then it's like this struggle to let go of that, because it still is like, yeah, but this thing is like needs me, like, but this baby needs me. We're like, it's almost this idea where like it's unfortunate, yeah, but like the baby's like the baby's a metaphor, but like it's holding the person back in this case. And it's weird because like, yeah, like there's this innate sense in this card where like his face is kind of confused as he's looking at this weird rock object. He's got this paperboard, like he's this clipboard and these papers, like he's supposed to be able to assess these things. He's got a suit on and stuff, like he's supposed to be able to assess this like some type of insurance agent, but he's unable to because he can't quite figure out what this thing really is. And so it's almost that feeling too where it's like looking at this thing like with this confusion and this concern of like, I know that this thing is valuable, but I can't exactly figure out how, because the way that it's like I can't do with it what I thought I was supposed to be able to do with it. Like, I should be able just to, like, assess this thing really easily. Like, I should be able, like, this is a nurse. Like, I should be able to care for this baby super easily. But there's this idea of, like, I can't quite figure out. There's this cloudiness behind us. There's this uncertainty of, like, I can't quite figure out what to do with this vulnerability, or with this innocence, or with this vulnerability, this weakness, this neediness, you know. So it could be speaking on codependency that way. You know, and I don't know what to do with this codependency. We're talking about two different people. Now, the main one the focus is coming on again is the one that actually is codependent. It almost is as if there's one of those types of relationships where, like, there's one person living off of another, or like there's one person whose finances is entirely supporting another, or there's maybe one person whose, like, ideas, like maybe somebody's, like, relying too much on somebody else's ideas. It's almost like that's deeper than that. Okay, well, let's see. The initial clarification for it is the Justice card in reverse. Okay, so this is like, it's right now I'm getting, like, this story of, like, there being this baby where, like, this person knows that the father of this baby, like, is detached and essentially probably pretty problematic to some degree, maybe a bit arrogant, short-sighted, violent, and maybe, like, it's almost like this funny, she has, like, a polar bear hat on. It's like a little polar bear. This little bear lady has this baby with this, you know, this is that person's parent, but, like, the parent isn't there for this baby, and she's, like, almost, like, looking at the baby like, oh, you're gonna grow up like your parent. If I can't be here to, like, protect you, like, if I can't be the one to do this, like, you're gonna end up bad, you're gonna end up broken, you're gonna end up hurting someone, or, you know, like, I have to be in control of this in a loving way, in a caring way. It's not necessarily, like, but it is toxic. It's not the same sort of toxicity that we see in the Justice in reverse. It's not this, you know, which would be injustice. It's not this, like, cruelty. It's actually this empathy. It's funny because I keep making jokes about the sin of empathy because some dipshit mentioned that recently about a female pastor, apparently, or a female priest that was saying something about Trump, and this person was, like, you know, calling that pastor out, saying that she had the sin of empathy, which to me is just such a funny thing, even just to hear out loud. Like, what an interesting concept. But it's really, like, we're getting down to the semantics of so many things in such, like, a interesting way. And so it's almost like there's a willingness here to get down to those things, but it's still a struggle. There's still, like, an attachment of, like, this confuses me because I'm still a little bit too personally involved in it. And that we want to be able to assess this thing deeper, you know, as we're looking at it, we're realizing that, like, oh, this is beyond what I have at my fingertips. This is going to require a little bit of extra resources in order to make some sort of certainty here. It's almost like I have to give up control to something greater than me so that something better can happen out of this. Okay, so let me just see what this other energy is, or for clarity. The Two of Swords in the upright. Okay, so in this card, it's this card is like talking about like taking matters into one's own hands, kind of like a blind justice, but like in the way of like, I have one end goal and I don't really care what it takes to get there, or if anybody gets harmed along the way. I'm just gonna do this thing. Let me see. In context, we're talking about, sorry, I got bug bites on my feet from working outside. So with the Queen of Cups, this toxic feminine energy that we have, with it being in the reverse, it's almost like that sort of idea where like the feminine was hurt by the masculine because of the masculine's toxicity, which is obvious when anyone looks at this specific masculine. But in order to protect themselves, this person has done with the feminine what has done with the broken feminine what was done to the masculine by the person that broke them, as an attempt to like one up them, or like show control over this thing to them, or like it's like a way to protect their inner vulnerability, their inner security, their inner peace, their inner sanctity, their inner little child, you know, that's innocent. But it ends up almost having this toxic effect of like, I mean, this card is kind of funny, but it's like, you know, this guy's, you know, he's blindfolded and he's got a staff, and he's like, it's like he's hitting a piñata, like he's about to be trying to hit a piñata, but he's actually just like running into the crowd and like swinging this wand around, and everybody's like, well, okay, it's actually 2 shovels, and everybody's just like freaking out and running and like trying not to get, it's just very chaotic. It's very chaotic, and it's almost like he's pretty sure of himself. He seems like he's well balanced, just kind of wrong place, wrong time sort of deal, right? And that's what's making this hard to value properly. That's what it's making it hard to assess. It's making it hard to analyze. It's making it hard to receive value from. It's making it hard to transact. It's making it hard to process. It's because I think that you know, there's this idea of like being afraid of hurting others, but almost like knowing that it kind of has to be done because it's the better thing. It's almost like that's what I'm getting out of this one, is that like seeing that in the future this thing becomes something very negative, so like you have to cut it down at an early age. Like it'd be like if you saw like a certain type of weed in your garden where it's like, okay, but I know that that's only going to do harm, so like I'm plucking it out even though it's like just an innocent tiny little baby. But it's like you already know what it's going to become, and you already know that like it's going to do damage, so you kind of have to like be willing to take on this, you know, this blind justice. Like I'm going to go in and do the thing even if it hurts, you know, people, because like it's what the right thing is. Like it's not about me hurting people, it's just about me accomplishing this sort of task. And that's like the thing too, is like, you know, that's what this guy's got to do, is be able to, there's a transition here of being able to ground oneself to be able to determine what this thing is and the value of what this thing is. It goes into, now we're describing that person. First we have the Eight of Wands in the upright, which is kind of like, you know, there's all of these wands coming in the background, but then they're holding up this musical instrument and running with it. So it almost looks like, you know, like they're kind of like got this wounded warrior thing going on, but it's like despite that, they've still got the confidence. They've still got the confidence to move forward, and it's coming from this creative outlet that they have, this talent or skill that they have, this it could just be like a way of looking at things positively. It could, but it's kind of this idea of like making music out of, like, you know, I almost imagine like a Disney montage where, like, as all of these sticks are spiraling through the air behind this person, they're like whistling kind of, and then they're like hitting the ground with these like thud thud thuds in the beat of a drum, and then this person like grabs their guitar and starts like turning it into music, when like really these are all traps, these are all different things sent to like hurt this person, these are all different things like that are true, could be destructive, but this person is taking those things and making the most of them and turning them into things that like they can make music with. Yeah, and so they're kind of pushing through this with a positivity. What's interesting, I'm like hearing the idea of toxic positivity for the fact that we're talking about addressing something toxic and almost having to do it without like this, like doing it without having the privilege of concerning oneself with like kind of who's affected by it and then how. Hold on, I want to see how this comes. So we have the King of Swords in the upright, and you know, this is like this upside down gumball machine, this broken down gumball machine, that's the king of the castle, but the castle is a junkyard. And you know, there's this idea of like kind of greed and gluttony that kind of comes there, where like he's washed up but he's resourceful, and in that he's maintained a definitive power, but ultimately it's almost like a self-denial that's going on. And it's almost like, yeah, there's a bit of delusion here, but like it's positive, because what's really happening is that like it would be so easy to be cynical, and that's kind of what all these wands then coming in here are. Like there's this cynicism seething in here that's like coming, and this person's just running past that and being like, no, I got this thing that makes me happy, so it's going to be okay. This isn't truly cynical. And so even though it's like about a releasing of something that is emotionally impactful, it definitely leaves someone feeling some type of way, but ultimately there's this sense of empowerment that I'm getting through these. Let me see the Ace of Coins, Page of Wands in the upright. It's cute. Okay, so I've never seen this card before. It's the wand is standing upright, and then there's a robot. It looks essentially like a microwave. Then he's got this can of beans. It's got just wires coming out of it that I think is attached to it. But the can has like his face is all drawn on, but it looks like he's dead. And then the microwave is like all proud. That's giving me these interesting vibes of like, mixed with the Ace of Coins, it's giving me, let me move these down so you can see. Put them like this, right? Because this came out upright. Normally the Page of Wands would be depicted of like being confident in one's own capacity for like creativity. And I see that here, but it's kind of a warped thing. This microwave is a little warped, but it's almost like, I mean, maybe he's just like some type of mad genius. He's essentially found a way to, he's a robot, he's on wheels, so he can actually move around. He's a mobile microwave, right? And, you know, this can of beans is dead on top of his head. It's taped to his head, and so, but it's almost like he's like proud of that. Sorry, there's a cat down there. I love you. I love you. Oh, Cheeto. No, she's on her back. Hold on, because she's on her back. Which is, it's important to touch her belly when she's on her back. Okay. There's snow, and he's like able to kind of move through the elements. He's able to, you know, be, like I said, like resourceful, but this is like, it still goes into that weird delusional. There's something, it's talking about some sort of delusion, but it's talking about it like essentially like it's what gives this person strength, or it's what gives to take this new torch, or to release this other thing, and yeah, to carry this. So it requires some type of what is essentially a delusion, but it's not necessarily negative. It's not necessarily negative. It's just really deep and complex, and it's different. It's unique. It's not for everybody. Most people, it's not the type of experience that like most people will be able to take from and be like, oh, okay, I've learned a lesson from that. It'll be one that a lot of people will be uncomfortable about, but then for some people it's like, no, I really needed that, and that changed my life. So, like, there's something really valid that's going on here, but it's, like, generally that there's this person is really having to trust themselves, because externally, like, they're the only ones that can kind of see where this leads in the future and see what's going to be necessary, and it's not even something that they want to do, but, like, they're aware that they have to do it in order to kind of get to this point of, really, it's an opportunity. There's an opportunity that this is going to be building into, which I'll have to do a part 2 about. But yeah, there's some sort of opportunity that this is building up into, and this is like building on a skill to get to that point, kind of. And that skill is requiring something to be let go of, and it's probably some sort of like vulnerability, some sort of affection, some sort of the sound of the rain on the roof. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to do a part 2 at some point, and it's probably gonna be a minute, so I'll leave this up, but we're just gonna have to go into depth about something else, because that's what I'm getting right now. It seems weird. This is obviously quite a personal reading for somebody specific. I do not know. I'm not really taking anything from it, which is weird for me, because it just feels like hopefully that wasn't too boring or too basic, but that's all that I'm getting right now. So thanks for stopping by. I'll try to make a point to do these a little bit more consistently. Hopefully you've been able to hear me throughout this time. If not, I'll mark that maybe my headphones would be helpful. But yeah, anyways, thank you very much for listening and watching, and I hope that you continue to do well with things, that you're branching out creatively and trying new things, and really taking responsibility for living a life that you're proud of, and enjoying yourself that way, and kind of stretching your boundaries that way, and just letting yourself have a good time. And I will see you soon.